Greetings, readers and travelers, and welcome to another episode of Stats on Stats. My name is Richie Stevens. You know me as the host. I'm not wearing my normal stuff. I got the hat on today because it's been a bad hair day. But today's topic of discussion is some 8-Bit Bastards by an author known in the lit RPG genre as Joshua Mason. Josh, how are we doing today?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. We're excited to
Happy to
talk
be
about.
here.
Well, we are happy to have you on the show. We're excited to talk about the 8-Bit Bastards today. It's something that was on my radar for a hot minute, and then I finally picked it up, and I just fell in love with it. But
Did you? Good.
I did. But joining me as always. Okay, not always because sometimes he misses a lot of the shows. You know him. He's just the guy. He's just there. We know him. We kind of love him. It really just depends on the day. I'm just going to prolong this as much as possible. Joel Harvey. Joel, how are we doing today?
Hey, that's me.
Yeah, it is you.
I'm doing fantastic. I'm excited. I'm excited for this show.
We are as well because it's going to be a fun show. We're going to have a lot of fun questions and just topics of discussion because if you haven't checked it out yet, 8-Bit Bastards, it's fun. There is a publisher pack on Audible. It's 2 books in one. It's a good time.
Yep.
It is a good time. So, Josh, why don't you tell us a little bit about the 8-Bit Bastards?
Well, 8-Bit Bastards was the second series I worked on. It's not my first foray in the lit RPG, but it's the one that was kicking around in the back of my mind for a long time. There's always been a certain number of ways to get into a lit RPG, so to speak, whether it's a portal or a VR simulation, or there's a pretty finite list of them. I went with the afterlife route, to where the characters in the book have uploaded to a virtual afterlife, so to speak, and that's where the story takes place. But it starts from there. The premise of the book is that one of the main characters, Sean, there's a lot of Seans in that RPG, I found out, has a descendant that hacked his way into the simulation looking for his long-lost love. And, the AI didn't take kindly to the hacker, so they parked him in a place called the Bit Realm, which is this buggy, pixelated monstrosity of a realm that, people have been steering away from just because of the bugginess. But they have to venture into it, turn into pixelated versions of themselves and rescue their descendant. That's the inciting incident that gets the whole story underway.
Okay. So, what was like the inspiration for choosing like the 8-bit realm? Because not a lot of games do 8-bit, or when you think of games anymore, like a lot of people still don't really do 8-bit games. My favorite thing recently that has like incorporated 8-bit into it is Dragon Quest XI. You could go back and play some of the original Dragon Quest levels in that classic 8-bit form, and I was like, oh my god, this is so freaking cool.
Yeah,
and of course, like Castlevania and stuff like that, because the amount of hours I put into Castlevania, which Chapter 1 has one of my favorite quotes from Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
So
it was a fitting opening.
What
is a man?
It just makes me so happy because Symphony of the Night is probably my favorite Castlevania game, like most people. Yeah. And having that as an iconic quote at the start of the book, that pulled me in instantly.
I was hoping for that. You're like people like when they open up that first page, it's like, haha, I recognize that. Okay, I'll read this.
It's so good. Joel's not the Castlevania guy. That's me.
Yeah,
well, you mentioned that.
I kind of missed out on a lot of the 8-bit video games. Like, I didn't really play like Zelda, or I didn't really play Castlevania. One that I did play was like Battletoads.
Oh,
that
God.
was like
that's 16-bit. Joel doesn't count.
No, was it the original Battletoads was 8?
Was it 8?
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
NES.
Yeah, I remember playing it on like the arcade cabinet, and I probably spent way too much money going through that campaign.
Oh God.
But I definitely want to get an arcade cabinet of that. That would be really fun.
Well, they make nice ones that are like, you can get the emulators and make a nice arcade cabinet that has pretty much every game ever there, for your
Yeah,
perusal.
we
But
totally don't pirate games here.
no, of course not. I'm not saying you should.
We
You should
there's no
only
such
play
things.
ROMs that you legally own the copies of, and
Exactly.
you've
Yeah.
ripped
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. That's
But yeah,
totally what we do.
continuing on your 8-bit question earlier, I worked for Nintendo back in the day, back in like yeah, like 94. I think
Hold
it was.
on. We need to talk about this.
Well, that was kind of the original inspiration. I mean, I right when the Super Nintendo was coming out and getting big was when I worked there. I was a gameplay counselor, so my job was to this was before the internet, like or the very
Right.
very dawn of the internet.
Wait. So you were that guy's uncle that worked at Nintendo? Had
Yeah,
all the
but
insider
I
information?
was 18 at the time, or 20 or something like that, but I wasn't an
Just
uncle.
go with it. Just go with it.
Oh yeah, Uncle Josh. That's what they called me. But it was. I thought I was going to be at that job forever. I mean, getting in was hard enough, because you have to impress everybody. My interview was me playing Super Metroid for like 30 minutes and seeing if I could hold a conversation, pretty much, while doing it. And yeah, that was no problem for me at the time. But I thought I was going to be there forever, man. It's like I found my dream job. I'm going to retire at this job. This is great. But it didn't work out that way. The internet happened, and it went from a local 206 Seattle number to 1-900 number after the internet came out, and the call volumes just plummeted, and that was the beginning of the end for the whole call center. But yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And my love for video games kind of stemmed from working there, and had access to every game that was ever on a Nintendo system at the time to play while we were on the phones, and it was fun.
So I'm gonna hit you with a hard question then, because we're
Oh,
unhinged here.
Lancers.
We go off the rails all the time, but that's what makes this podcast fun. What is your favorite game, like of all time? What is your top favorite game of all time?
I gotta say Earthbound, man. I don't know if you ever played it, but
I love me
it's
some
a Super
Earthbound.
Nintendo
Luke and
RPG
Ness.
it's kind of outside the box a little bit. It's got a rabid cult following. There's people that love it and there's people that can't stand it. But I just thought it was creative and really well done. It brought the JRPG to American shores in a way that no other game really did. I mean,
I bought an SNES Classic just so I
Yeah.
could play Earthbound.
yeah, it's fun, man. It's a lot of fun. I played the first. They had a first one on the NES that was actually translated and all ready to go, but like Dragon Warrior wasn't doing as hot as everybody wanted, so they're like, yeah, I don't know if this RPG thing is for us. That's what Nintendo said at the time. But I played that one. There's another one on the Game Boy Advance, Mother 3.
Mhm.
Mother is the Japanese.
Yeah.
Wait, is that where Ness is from?
Yeah.
Yep.
I never knew like
and-
where he
Lucas
was
and
from.
Ness,
I've
yeah.
just played him with the
Smash.
Brothers.
Smash Bros. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, NES is a NES, Nintendo Entertainment System. That's where they got his
Mhm.
name, of course. But it was a nice call out to see him in there. It kind of put it a little bit in the mainstream in hopes for a Mother 4, but that's we've been
We're
hoping
never
for
getting
that
another
forever.
Earthbound game. I've given up hopes on that. Like, apparently it's on the Switch, like online. It's one of the most played games from my understanding, but still, like,
Yeah.
it's just we're never getting it, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Like, that game's
There's
a
a- there's a-
classic.
There's a fan made one in the works. It's been in the works for a while,
Mhm.
but it holds true to the series. And Nintendo, they had to change the name just to get Nintendo off their back, but it's fun.
Also,
I'm excited.
we got a few newcomers in the chat. Well, first, Mr. TJ Lombardi, another author in the lit RPG genre. He's I've connected with him recently, and he's an absolute gem of a person. And then, of course, Stephen Landry and Graham Moon are in the chat saying hello, and also Zeckler. We always expect Zeckler to be here, so welcome everyone
Yes.
to
I
our.
can't see the chat. Where is it?
Oh, I
Oh,
just have it.
general?
I just
Oh,
have it on
okay.
the stream and everything. Normally, I have it like on the overlay, but my laptop will not. Yeah, I won't power it because I need to get me an actual desktop at some point.
Hi guys.
But welcome in, everyone. So happy to have you here. So, 8-Bit Bastards,
Yeah,
fun times.
Mhm.
So,
I like it.
correct me if I'm wrong. Book 3 just came out, correct?
Yeah, book 3 just came out
Okay. And
a month ago, month and a half ago, maybe.
all
Yeah.
right, that's what I thought. I couldn't remember because I know when I was like looking in and everything, and it wasn't out just yet, and I was like, oh, that's fine. That's no worries. I can pick that up eventually, so I'm gonna pick it up. It's gonna be out.
I don't have the fastest pace of release, so you can
Hey,
take
your time. Take your time because my backlog. Holy shit. Okay. Oh, also this this chat is rated M for mature.
Oh,
So
shit! You didn't tell me that.
oh yeah, no, say whatever you want. That's not a slur or anything that could be deemed offensive. That would go against TOS. We'll just put it that way. So say whatever the hell you want.
I usually there's a character in 8-Bit Bastards called Mark, and he's variously notoriously anti-potty mouth, so he uses like fudge and all those kind of great words. But I tend to that myself a little bit, unless I'm really upset at something, but that doesn't happen too often.
I am unhinged, and and I'm sleep deprived at the moment. So we're just gonna go with unhinged because the universe is just pranking me at this point. I'm pretty sure. So we're just going with the flow. So Joel,
Yeah.
what questions you got, buddy?
So what made you want to do the story so far advanced, like after the Afterlife came out?
Oh, well, because I wanted to. I think what you're saying. Well, the game takes place like with the characters like 700 or 800 years old because they've
Yeah,
been in
yeah.
this afterlife for that long. I wanted to kind of play into that, and that just kind of brought up a whole bunch of philosophical questions, like what would 700 years do to a person? You know, are they going to be normal? It kind of each one of them kind of went their own way with it. The main character kind of regressed back into like an adolescent, you know, ladies man type of guy. He's trying to better himself. He's trying to pull himself out of that hole, but he burned a lot of bridges, and he just said fuck it and kind of gave up on everything. And when we first meet him, he's like, he hasn't showered in 6 months or something, and he's sitting there playing through his entire Nintendo collection because he wants to play them all one more time before he found a way out of the simulation or a way to die finally permanently. And that's how the book opens. And that's what the 700 years does to him. And it was fun exploring what it would do to people. Like, think about yourself. What would you do if you were uploaded to a simulation for 700 years? We're getting to the point that a lot of people that are born today might get to see that by the time they're 80 or 90 or 100 or something, with advances and stuff like that. But I don't know how far we're out, but with the way things are progressing,
We can only hope, right?
yeah. My luck, it'll be like the next day. I'll croak. It's like, congratulations.
So
Anyway,
you said earlier so when the book opens, he's obviously working through the classic catalog of everything, and he's on Princess Tomato. Is that where he's at? Yeah.
Tomato and the Salad Kingdom. And I picked that one just because that's like one of the weirdest titles I could think of on the NES.
But it's so fun.
It is, man. It's not something I can afford, but it's.
Oh, also, Stephen Landry did a comment earlier, which I think you guys would get a kick out of. Battletoads was the Dark Souls of a generation. So Battletoads was
yeah,
Dark Souls.
I love Battletoads so much.
It's probably why before you even played Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Because I didn't introduce you into Dark Souls until our senior year, and we played the hell out of it.
Sometime in high school,
it's the one level. I mean, the rest of it's kind of just hack and slash. But you get to that sewer level where you're riding the surfboards in the sewer, and stuff is just coming at you, and you don't have. I mean, the reaction time you need is just absolutely insane.
So I'm gonna give a hot take.
NES too.
I'm gonna give a hot.
What's that?
Actually, I don't know if it's really a hot take or anything, but Battletoads walked. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles Out of Time could run. just saying.
That one's a beatable game, though. I mean, that one's done well.
But
I just sold a copy.
But without like Battletoads and everything, I don't think we would have gotten a lot of the hack and slash games that we have now, or not hack and slash beat 'em ups.
Yeah, the Ninja Turtles. I mean, the first Ninja Turtles on the NES was the other notorious game, along with Battletoads, for
Hmm.
having like a super difficult level. The water level in
Oh
that, where they have like
God!
this electric seaweed. Oh man,
But I
having
didn't
nightmares of
think
that.
a lot of people liked the Ninja Turtles game on the NES.
I did. It was like one of the first 5 games I had, and I just played it every single. I had Dragon Warrior. Dragon Warrior came for free with a subscription to Nintendo Power, and I just fell in love with it. I played that game through like 100 times at least in my life. Just pick it up. There it is, just in the background. But I had Ninja Turtles. I had Faxanadu, which is another great game on the NES. I was also
Wow,
looking for
that is
something
a
to play.
title I have not heard in a long time. And he goes to grab it. Also, welcome Random Exile. Thank you for joining us today. Said Murder Seaweed was hilarious, but the game was awesome.
Which one?
Murder Seaweed, or was
Oh yeah,
Hyenas?
and, Turtles.
Yeah.
Xanadu is notorious as well because it had a password system. This is before batteries
Mm-hmm.
made their way into the carts, and their password would be like 42 characters long, and it'd be uppercase and lowercase, and you can't tell an L from a 1 or a 0 from an O, and you have to write it down because you don't have a camera phone to take a picture of it, like if you wanted to do it today.
I still have
And,
my notebook with a bunch of GTA cheat codes in it.
yeah.
So,
That and Mortal Kombat finishers.
oh my
God.
fatalities.
We had that in the break room at Nintendo. We had Mortal Kombat and Killer Instinct.
Ooh, Killer Instinct. That's a good one.
That's a fun game.
That is a fun game. So we need a 16-bit Bastards. That would be fun.
That was the original plan. In book 3, everything kind of turns into 16-bit. The resolution increases and decreases at various points in the game, depending on where they are. I was considering doing
realm.
8 and 16, and polygons, and giving everybody the pointy boobs,
Warcraft.
yeah.
Oh, also took
But
the
as a
camera down
kid-
just a smidge.
I'm leaning back. That's me.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good. Well, the way I have the frame set up, there we go. Now we get the full picture of you and everything.
Really.
So, like for me, so the first gaming system I had was SNES.
Yeah.
And my brother got a copy of Aladdin
Yeah,
for
okay,
Christmas
yeah.
one year, which apparently is the worst version because everyone's like, "Oh no, you want to play the Genesis version?" No, fuck that. I grew up on the SNES version. That version's more fun.
Yeah.
He got that. I got Tiny Toons, Buster Bustin' Out.
Yeah. Oh man.
That game was
I
hard
love-
as shit.
Yeah. For Tiny
Fuck
Toons, it was
Konami for
hard.
that game. Like
Huh?
that game was hard. Fuck Konami on that one because
Oh yeah.
oh my god.
Hardest game for me on the SNES was freaking Lion King.
That
There's a level
I
on
never
that.
had a copy of that, but I got it on an emulator.
Yeah.
And I was able to beat it. It's just like God, that game was hard.
Yeah, there's a jump in there, like a double jump in there. You got to do
Mhm.
that. Everybody's stuff, and they did this on purpose because Nintendo fought tooth and nail with Blockbuster. I don't know if you knew this part, but because they didn't want their games rented out, they wanted their games purchased. But when they lost that lawsuit and,
Mhm.
and Blockbuster had to go ahead to rent games, they said. They started making the games more difficult, or at least in like 1 or 2 spots at the very beginning, they'd make it like insanely difficult. So you'd play it up to that point, and you're like, well, shit, I got to return this tomorrow. And it's like I'm just gonna go buy it, and that was their thinking to drive more sales in the whole rental
Yeah.
era. But it was a good marketing plan, I guess. Nintendo has some
Well, and also
winners and losers for marketing.
I think the SNES, like, I would say the SNES and the PS1 were the top, like, that was the golden age of licensed, like, movie properties or whatever. So, like, Disney doing their games, peak. Because, like, we got some amazing games. We got Aladdin. We did get The Lion King. Like, even though The Lion King was hard as shit, we got that game, and it's fun. We got a bunch of Mickey and Donald games. Like all this other stuff. Like it was just a lot of fun times. And I grew up like on all the Disney games because my mom was like, "Oh, you can't play anything too violent." Okay, that's fine, whatever. I don't care. So, and
On
then
the
I got
Super Nintendo, that kind of that's a double-edged sword on the Super Nintendo because you got games like Lawnmower Man, Demolition Man, No Escape, which was like some Lawrence Fishburne movie that got a video game made out of it when it was only out in theaters for like 2 weeks. I mean, you get just some of the craziest, never heard of movie properties that made their way onto the Super Nintendo for some reason, and they're still fun to play, some of them, but it's just weird to see them. Especially Lawnmower Man. That movie kind of tripped me out as a kid.
Oh, Lawnmower Man. Whew. I'm trying
Remember
to
that?
Yeah, I am. Whew.
Virtual reality.
But like, wasn't there also like a Total Recall game? There was.
Last Action Hero had a game.
I forgot about Last Action Hero. Of course, Batman had a couple of games. Spider-Man had a couple of games, but that was before like the Spider-Man movies. Those followed more of like the animated series. The Maximum Carnage game. That game was fun. Hard as hell, but fun. I'm a sucker for like the licensed games, especially like when it comes to like, superheroes or Disney movies. Like I bought the Disney Rewind pack or whatever that had like the DuckTales game and all that stuff in it on Xbox. And then when they said, "Oh, we're doing the Lion King and Aladdin combo," I was like, "Fuck yeah!" And then I bought it, and it was the SNES version. I said, "Fuck!" And then they're like, "Oh, well," like a year later, they're like, "By the way, we're releasing the SNES version of it with the Jungle Book game. It's $10 more, or just pay a $10 DLC fee." And I was like, "You bastards. You absolute heinous bastards. No."
Well, that's why I like the Super Nintendo era because it's before DLC. You bought your cartridge, you got your cartridge.
You got
Any
a
bugs are
full
there
game.
forever. Yeah. Really quick, we were talking about virtual reality with Lawnmower Man. Interesting thing about 8-Bit Bastards 3 is I wrote it in VR.
Ooh.
Actually, while playing Skyrim, I have a mansion I downloaded in Skyrim VR, and it's like this big, beautiful, just gorgeous mansion with gargoyles, and it's huge, and it's got servants everywhere. But you can bring your monitor into VR you can either wear it on your arm or you can put it in the air somewhere. So I'd have it on my arm. So I'd have my monitor here, and then I'd just be, checking it because I dictate. I don't type. I dictate. So I'd just be using Dragon while playing, just roaming around my castle or whatever, And it's so immersive, and it just brings you into the writing so much. It blocks out all the distractions from outside. But it's a lot of fun.
What the hell? That's awesome.
There's a clip of it on YouTube. I'll share it with you later, but it's just to give you a picture of what I'm talking about. But as far as immersion goes, you can't beat it, man. You can write from anywhere. I'm also writing under a pen name this Harami type book. Yeah, it's like
I do enjoy me some spice. Like, I need some details on this one.
Well,
Can I get the sauce?
There's a strip club I downloaded too, so like I can write within a strip club, just to
get the settings going.
Yeah,
You gotta
Well, how am I
get
gonna
that
describe
atmosphere
this?
going.
Let me look. Let me look at one here. Okay, but that book's called "Amazing Cleavage: The Adventures of a Battle Axe."
I love it.
It's pretty great.
He's a battle axe. He cleaves things.
Yeah.
It's about this guy that gets isekai'd into a world, but he was playing a VR game at the time when he got transported, and he just beat this demon, and like they were on a quest to get the demon dong because it's like some magical powers or something. And he also drops an axe, so like an earthquake happens while they're in VR or something weird like that, and like he wakes up in this new world as a battle axe with like a 5-foot demon dong for a handle.
Joel.
And that's the main character.
Joel.
Amazing.
Joel,
Cleavage.
you know what I'm gonna say. That demon dig. The story behind that is we went and saw
went and
This Is
saw-
the End
Yeah.
with Seth Rogen. During about the rapture and everything, came back out in like what 2012, 2013. And at
Oh,
the end
yeah.
of the movie, when they're all going up to heaven, a beam of light shoots right through a giant demon's dick, and it cuts it off and crushes Danny McBride. And our friend Drew Wheeler just leans over and goes, "That demon dick, though." So that just brought that back up. Thank you for that.
You're welcome, man.
No, we've talked Spice on the show here before because we had Edie Sky, Titan Mage, on here, and so we have a lot of fun. Like we talk a lot of different genres within like the game lit RPG area. We just originally it was going to be pure lit RPG with like dungeon core and game lit, but then we kind of branched out to everything else because we just started booking people.
That works. My first lit RPG book, back when I met
Steam Whistle Alley.
Steven. Yeah, that's where my Twitter handle comes from. Steven was a big influence to me. Thank you, Steven, if you're still in there. Back when I first started, he was one of the guys I could go to with questions and stuff like that. But that was a fun book. That was my baby. What got me started altogether was Ready Player One. I mean, I read that and I was like, oh, this is nice. Let me see what else Audible's recommending. And then it recommended Daniel Shinhofen, one of his books. And I was like, wow,
I've not read any of his, I don't think.
He's got, I can't name a book off the top of my head, but he's been in the genre for like 6 years, 7 years now. And then I read Travis Bagwell, and I was like, well, I think I can write this. I mean, this isn't like War and Peace. This is something I love and something I know and something I can get into. And that's when Steam Whistle Alley came out. I've always been a big steampunk fan. And I live in Seattle, so it's set in Seattle. They say, write what you know. And I was like, the goggles. Well, the goggles, steampunk goggles are a thing already. So, I mean, how am I going to bring this into the story? And I was like, well, it can be augmented reality because Pokemon Go was coming out at the time, too. So you put on the steampunk goggles and it transforms the world into like this steampunky version of itself with like monsters hopping around that you can battle. Like,
oh, he does Alpha World.
Yeah, Shinhofen. Yep.
Yeah, I read through that one. That's a harem-y one.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I've not read that one. Joel, I think you told me to read that one. I just haven't gotten to it yet. Or did you tell me to read Alpha Physics?
I don't know at this point. I've told you to read a lot of things.
And I've told you to read a lot of things. And you're like, eh. So, we're even.
Well, you do the same thing, so.
I know. I said we're even. Dick. Oh, wait, that's me. Anyways.
Demon Dick?
Yeah. You're wearing red. Demon
oh my
Dick.
Gosh. Richie's, we were on the phone earlier and his voice started getting robotic. And I'm like, I'm going to just change your name to Dildo because you're sounding robotic right now.
I mean, you call me a fuck machine if you want. I don't give a shit because it's ironic. Because universe. Anyways, so I love the 8-Bit Bastards world just because it's unique to have an 8-bit world. Like everyone, when they're going into games and everything, they're doing either just like the top of the notch, augmented reality or virtual reality, full immersion, whole new world, everything. We don't have 8-bit or 16-bit like classic gaming.
Well, you have there's a whole bunch of people that write Minecraft books because Minecraft opened up its IP to anyone who wants to write.
Accidental Minecraft Family.
Yeah.
That one's fun.
That's the best example. And I didn't want it to be like that. I want it to be a little bit more adult, a little bit more. I didn't want it to be. I mean, how can I pull off pixels without people thinking it's for kids? Was my biggest dilemma, right? And I think I managed to do that. Another good thing about 8-bit is I could design my own covers.
Yeah,
I didn't have to.
The covers are beautiful. Like I love them. I want to get a shirt with one of the covers on it just because I love it. So
I'll send you a link. I have some for sale in the shop.
It might have to wait till after Dragon Con, but send me a link. There was a joke because I was doing a re-listen today while I was mowing a lady's lawn, and it was the we just need to head right. What? We just got to head right. No, we have to head east. This isn't a platformer. I was like, I get it. I get it.
I saw a comic on Facebook yesterday. It's like this guy playing a video game with his son sitting next to him. And he's like, Dad, how come like at the beginning of every video game you always turn back to the left and run into a wall? And he's like, because I did that once in a game a long time ago and there was a secret there and now my OCD won't let me do anything else.
Same.
Yeah, I recognize, like, that's Donkey Kong Country. I recognize that one. And there's also something in Castlevania 2, I think, too.
Simon's Quest is one of the hardest games as well, because
Yeah,
depending
I
on
get calls in that game all the time.
how quickly you beat the game depends on what ending you get, which is I think one of the first games that had multiple endings, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Which
but
also
I would get
fun
called in
game,
that
but
game all the
it's
time.
so hard. Like I
The thing is, you always knew where they're stuck to. There's one
mhm.
point in that game where you have to crouch down by a wall with a certain crystal in your hand, and then a tornado comes and takes you to the next level. And everybody would always get stuck on that. So you like usually know right off the bat when people called about that game that that's the spot they were stuck in,
Mhm.
because the rest of it people can usually figure out, which was great because it meant I didn't have to put down my game and look it up on the computer. Back when I was working.
Well, so my thing with Castlevania was my cousin had it. I never got to have a copy of it, so I would always play it like when we'd go over to his house for Thanksgiving or whatever. I would be able to play Castlevania. And like at that time he had like a PS2 with like GTA, the Lord of the Rings games, all that stuff, and I was like, "No, I want to play Castlevania. That is what I want to play." And then I forgot about it as I got older until I got into high school. And then a little YouTuber named Ego Raptor did a series called Sequelitis. Ego Raptor is Aaron Hansen from Game Grumps. It was before he started Game Grumps
Oh yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
Danny Sexbang from Ninja Sex Party. And he was talking about Castlevania 1 and Simon's Quest. And, like, is a sequel always bad or is it always good? Like, what's the difference between a good sequel and a bad sequel? And I think, like he's talking about like all these other games in the videos. He did Mega Man and then Mega Man X, and like he's done a few. But the Castlevania one really stuck with me just because of the difference of the formula Castlevania 2 takes from Castlevania 1, and then they completely scrapped that for Castlevania 3 because it was just so complicated.
Well, 3 went back to 1. 3 is just
Exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
so they did Castlevania 1, and then Castlevania 2 had more of like that open world like aspect type feel to it, but didn't really have that open world aspect because it was just hard. And then Castlevania 3 went back to the original Castlevania formula, which I like my side scrolling platformers. Joel yells at me because he's like, "Dude, you're just playing platformers at this point." Because I like my Mega Man, I like my Castlevania, I like my Mario. I like to have fun when I play. I don't want it to be.
Mario.
It's a
I'm
Mario.
gonna
You
go
get
out on a limb here and just say that the games that our cousins had or like aunt and uncles had, those were the best games.
Mm-hmm.
Because we only got to play it for like a split second or like a day or whatever. And then we're like, just have nothing but fond memories of those games. But like our games that we buy, we like play through and be like, okay,
I'm
that's done.
I'm gonna
And
say yes. I'm gonna say yes, Joel, because I'm gonna agree with you here, but also no because I had one of the greatest SNES games of all time, and that was the WWF Royal Rumble with
oh god,
Macho Man Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Bret Hart,
Honky
every.
Tonk Man.
Oh my God, I
Was
played that
Honky
game
Tonk Man
for
in that?
hours. Yeah, I believe so. I'm gonna look it up. I'm looking it up now.
Jim Duggan might have been in that. God, I haven't played that one in
WWF
ages.
Royal Rumble SNES.
yeah, so my like aunt and uncles, they had the Nintendo 64, which is where I played like Donkey Kong, what else? They had Rampage and Mario 64. And
Okay,
those were the games that I would play all the time.
That
so
system did not
They
age
were
well.
the SNES version of the WWF Royal Rumble had Bret Hart, The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, Randy Savage, Crush, The Narcissist, Lex Luger, and then the SNES version featured Ric Flair, Mr. Perfect, Ted DiBiase,
DiBiase.
and Yokozuna, and Tatakana, where the Genesis version replaced them with Hulk Hogan, IRS, Hacksaw Jim Dugan, the model Rick Martel, and Papa Shango. So the Sega version had a slightly different roster.
The
But I had the
Sega was
SNES version.
notorious for that. They would change things up just to say, look what we got.
But
You could
also,
always tell when somebody was playing the Sega version too, because they'd try to call the Nintendo hotline for it. Like one of the notorious ones was Beavis and Butthead, because there's a whole level in the Sega version that the SNES version didn't have, and people would constantly get stuck on it, and they'd call us, and it's like, no, sorry,
Well,
you're playing the Sega version, bud.
didn't the
help ya.
Genesis have like a little bit
real
more
system.
power than the SNES did, though?
No.
No? Okay.
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
No. The blast processing thing was a marketing ploy.
Okay.
SNES outperformed the Genesis in every metric across the board. Color, sprite, sound. Sorry. You hit a nerve.
I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. Zeckler says, go in.
More like ass processing.
Well, I was just like looking at like the different, like with the visuals and everything, like comparing the Aladdin version between SNES and the Genesis, because the Genesis version did look better, and the sound like sounded a little bit better, but also it could be just the remasters I played of that version. So that's where I'm.
Genesis did have some better sound, but the SNES had more sound channels and you could do more with it. Just the Genesis, it's like, well, we got to be good at something. Might as well be good at sound.
I didn't mean to strike a nerve there. I'm sorry.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, it's still a retro gaming system. I still play Genesis games on occasion, like Phantasy Star and stuff like that.
Shout out to Fantasy Star.
I'm a Nintendo fanboy. I not a new Nintendo fanboy. I give two shits about the Switch, but,
I like the Switch for different reasons. But like if I'm thinking of like a Nintendo console I want to play, it's going to be the SNES. I don't care what anyone says. If you put an SNES controller in my hand, I'm going to be content for hours. Like if I can sit down and relive some of the games I played in my childhood, I'm gonna have a good time.
Yeah, that's fun. I mean, and so much Nintendo stuff went into 8-bit bastards too, just as little, Easter eggs and references. And occasionally it's like, well, I better throw a Genesis reference in there somewhere for the fangirls.
So
whatever.
what games would you say were your big inspiration for 8-bit bastards?
Dragon Warrior #1 right off the bat. I mean, the menus, I made Dragon Warrior style menus for like, the shops and like the level up screens and stuff like that. I mean, I lifted a Dragon Warrior
We
menu.
love Star
for the
Ocean too,
board.
Sam. We love Star Ocean too.
Star Ocean 2?
Well, he said, what about Star Ocean? And I'm just saying we love Star Ocean like as well.
I like Star Ocean.
Star Ocean's
The
really
Super
good.
Nintendo one never got a release in America, but there's a patch that you can play the Super Nintendo Star Ocean.
I played the PSP one.
Yeah. The original on Super Nintendo is one of the greatest games of all time. And there's an English patch for it. If you haven't played it, I recommend it, man. It's a really, really good game. It shows what the Super Nintendo is capable of. Genesis couldn't do anything close to that.
Okay. Random Exile also said, I liked the Mortal Kombat graphics and gameplay on the SNES better. Genesis seemed to have a better flow with the graphics, or a better flow, but the graphics were softer somehow.
Well, the Genesis had blood. Nintendo had sweat, and that was I mean, Genesis's market share like almost doubled when Mortal Kombat came out, because everybody wanted the blood.
Yeah.
You just put in a code and it's blood. But SNES didn't have it, and I'd get 20 calls a day sometimes, people asking for the blood code on the Super Nintendo version. I was like, oh, sorry, bud, we don't have blood.
Did it ever, like Mortal Kombat 3 or anything, never got blood on the NES or SNES?
3 might have. This might have been. I think they might have realized their error by that point. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look.
I'm gonna go out on a limb, because my aunt was a housekeeper at a hotel. So if people left stuff behind, like they'd get to bid on it, like if it was there for so long. And someone left behind like a bunch of Game Boy games, like Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and everything. This is how I got my copy of Pokemon Silver. But in that pile, I also had Mortal Kombat 1 on the Game Boy Color. And let me tell you, frustration. Fuck the Game Boy Color version of Mortal Kombat. Just no.
Yeah, I mean, the fighting games on the Game Boy in general generally never translated to it. It was cool to have it on the go, but you'd have like 6 characters instead of like the normal.
I think, was there a Street Fighter game on the Game Boy Advance?
I think on the Advance there was. I don't
Yeah.
think there was on the.
Because I'm trying to
Or
remember.
on the
I
Game Boy.
had a Dragon Ball Z fighting game on the Game Boy Advance. Boost Fury, I think, is what it was, and that game was hard. But like I had the bumpers and everything, and it wasn't my favorite game to play. It was just a game my friend let me borrow because it was Dragon Ball. But I wanted to say I had a Street Fighter. I had a really fun fighting game on the Game Boy Advance. I just can't think of what it was, and now it's
On
gonna
the
stop
Game
me.
Boy Advance.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't Clay Fighter, was it?
No, it was not Clay Fighter. I was not a Clay Fighter person.
Yeah, either was I. That was a bad one.
I
I can't think. Game Boy had a great library, though, man. Game Boy Advance had a great library. It was a 32-bit system. I mean, it was a step up from the Super Nintendo.
Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. Let's go.
Hell,
That was my
I couldn't
game.
Get into Kingdom Hearts, man.
I
couldn't take
I
it
have a story for
seriously.
that. I have a story for that. I was a Disney kid, so I grew up on on Disney movies and everything, and we had stopped going to Blockbuster because they said we never returned a game. I remember the game. It was Wolverine 2 or X-Men 2 Wolverine's Revenge. It was the movie tie-in for the X-Men 2 movie. And so we quit going to Blockbuster because they're like, "Oh, you guys never returned this." And we're like, "Nah, fuck that." So we went to Hollywood Video. And this was at the release time of Kingdom Hearts in the US. So this would have been 2002. I want to say I was in like first or second grade. And I went almost every weekend for almost 2 months straight, and I rented Kingdom Hearts. Like, the guy had a copy reserved for us behind the counter. He's like, I went in one day, it wasn't there, and he goes, "Nah, dude, it's up here. It's up here, little guy." I was like, "Oh, yeah."
Oh,
And I had rented it so much that the guy who was there went out and bought me a copy, my own copy of the game, and gave it to me. The last time I went in to rent it, he said, "Dude, you have pretty much paid for this game twice at this point. Here you go."
yeah.
So he gave me a copy of Kingdom Hearts, and I love that game.
Still have it? You still have it?
No, sadly I don't, because I live in Indiana, and in 2008 we had a really bad flood. So it was at my grandparents' house, and where my grandparents' house is located, it's right behind the hospital. Hospital got hit really hard with the flood, and thus their house did too. It was in the basement. Basement was full of water. They had 3 feet standing water in the actual house itself. So I lost that, and I lost my Final Fantasy VII, my original copy of Final Fantasy VII for the PS1, which I'm still pissed off about.
That's another top 5 game of mine of all time.
Oh, same. Okay, now since you brought that up, top parties, like top party for that game. Who was your go-to party members?
Well, Cloud, Barrett, Red XIII. Was
Red
always in
13.
there after I had him. Huh? Yeah.
Red 13.
And
Yeah.
God, Tiva. I liked Tiva, but she was kind of a weakling. I just liked having her in the party though, because I just like watching her celebrate. Yeah, but I mean, Barrett's my guy, man. Even though he's kind of a wimp when it comes to his bullets, but
I had the emo team.
so who would that be?
Cloud, Tifa, Vincent Valentine. Give me my boy Vincent Valentine. I have Dirge of Cerberus. That game is bad, but I love Vincent Valentine.
That's
So
what's your take on the whole Aerith controversy?
I know her as Aerith. Like that's how I've known her. Like I know Aerith is the original pronunciation of it, but like I grew
Isn't
up.
the other way around?
I thought Aerith was the original pronunciation, but in Kingdom Hearts they call her Aerith, and that's how I was introduced to her.
Oh yeah.
I met the Final Fantasy characters because of Kingdom Hearts. So
Okay,
without Kingdom Hearts, I would not have had my love for Final Fantasy. Because
Aerith was the Japanese. It was supposed to be Aerith apparently from the beginning, but Final Fantasy VII called her Aeris with an S, and
Yeah.
that's how I grew. That's how I grew to know her.
I've
That's how
always
she
known
came
her
to
as
me.
Aerith,
Yeah,
and also
but, I
having
mean, people come
Mandy
to blows in
Moore.
comment sections over the pronunciation of her name, and
Voiced
it's just fun to watch.
Yeah, Mandy Moore voiced her in Kingdom Hearts 1, if I'm remembering correctly. So, which with the Final Fantasy VII remake and everything, I'm wondering how, because there's some changes they're doing and everything. I'm wondering if they're going to keep her alive.
I don't know, man. I played through the first one, but it's like I don't know if I like this. It's just too.
Oh, I
one
loved it.
direction.
I loved
I
it.
mean, it was fun. The battles were fun, but it was just so held your hand the whole way through. You know, you
Yeah.
can only go this way. You know.
Okay, it is not a spoiler that Aerith dies in Final Fantasy VII. That is the biggest, like, The game is
I'm
20
pretty
years
sure
old
I
at
knew
this
that,
point.
and I haven't played it like at all.
I played through it so many times. Like, well, there's got to be a fucking way to save her. It's like, I mean,
Yeah.
you
Well,
can't
in
just
the
kill her.
and that's the thing. Like in the original like manual for the art book and everything, there's a picture of her next to like the area where it's like the final area of the game, and it's like,
Yes.
so what? That's where I'm like, there's Nomura's gonna do something because he did a change at the end of this game that retconned another death from Crisis Core, and I'm like, do not do this just to rip my heart out again. Nomura, I will throw hands.
That's funny. People get passionate about this stuff. That's for
Crisis
sure.
Core is another one of those games that's very special to me because I played that through the flood of
I never
08.
played it.
Oh, it's good. The remake is
Yeah.
fantastic. I like if you can get the remaster version, get it. Like if you have a Steam Deck, whatever, Switch, get it. It is a fun game. It feels like that clunkiness and everything, but oh my god, that game holds a very special place in my heart. I actually rank
Yeah,
it above Final Fantasy VII for me.
Final Fantasy. I put a lot of that in the Bastards too, not directly, but a lot of influence.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of the RPGs.
Doesn't one of the characters have a Buster Sword? Or they reference a Buster Sword? Am I?
Possibly at some point? Yeah, that might be a little Easter egg I put in there.
I'm
I
trying
know
to
there's
remember.
a chocobo like creature at one
Yeah.
point, but you know, just stuff like that, just to pay a little fan service to where this all comes from. It's not blatantly ripping it off. It's just you know,
It's showing homage to.
yeah,
It's showing the
exactly,
love.
right? One thing I found out is people love little pop culture references, so I figured, well, the only ones I'm going to put in are like, you know, old gaming references.
I live for Easter eggs and stuff like that, like in just little references because it's like it keeps my mind like from wandering. So I'm enjoying like all the little stuff. And like I said, when you put that Castlevania quote from Symphony of the Night right at the beginning of the game, I was hooked. I was hooked.
One of the first puzzles that they had to solve to get into a castle or something like that involved hopping across the heads of alligators. That
Mhm.
was a callback to Pitfall on the original Atari.
I had that game as well because we had an original
Yeah.
Atari in my grandparents' basement, and we lost it in the flood. Damn it!
Sucks, man.
It was not a good time, but I mean,
And it costs so much money to get into it nowadays,
Mhm.
dude. If you want to collect retro games, they're insanely pricey.
and that's why people
whole-
emulate.
Yeah, the whole WADA controversy, with the grading games and stuff like that.
Well, and there was an emulation company, Dolphin. They wanted to put Dolphin on Steam, and Nintendo was like, absolutely
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, they
no
said,
way.
"Nope,
But that doesn't make
nope."
it like I feel like it would do a good job because I feel like the only people that would actually get upset about that are the people who own retro game stores because Nintendo doesn't make any revenue off of the
Yeah.
reselling of old games and everything. Like it's not like if you went to GameStop and bought, I will just say a GameCube game, Star Fox Adventures. Someone went and bought a copy of Star Fox Adventures. GameStop goes, okay, well, I got to give like $20 to Nintendo over here. I'm under the the verdict of let us emulate games. Like if they've been out for so long, let us emulate them. Let us have fun with it.
You can make money off it. It's like,
Yeah.
here's the entire collection of Nintendo games. It's yours for $300 or something like that. People would pay it in a heartbeat.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, for there's something like 842 or something like licensed games on the NES.
Mm-hmm.
And people would pay that in a heartbeat for all the hours and hours of gameplay. But I remember when emulation first kind of hit the scene with Nesticle was the first NES emulator that I was aware of. I think it was like one of the very first ones,
Yeah.
and play like Mario on my 486 was just like the coolest thing in the world at the time.
I had in high school. I had a little like Asus or Acer. I had a little Acer like notebook type laptop. It was white. It was probably about that big with the screen and everything, and just so I had a couple emulators on it where I was just playing SNES games from my childhood, and then my dad got a cease and desist letter from
Did he?
Comcast. Oh yeah, because they were
from
like,
Comcast.
yeah.
Because you downloaded them.
well, and here's
Yeah.
the thing, my dad works for Comcast, so I got in trouble.
Whoopsie.
Yeah, that was not a fun time. So then I just went. I started going to McDonald's and using their Wi-Fi and downloading games.
Yeah, there you go.
So
Yeah, I try. I don't. As an author now, especially, I kind of have mixed feelings on pirating since I've been one my whole life. But
mhm.
now it's like, it's like, well, you got to draw a line somewhere. Are you a hypocrite if you'll download an NES game, but like, get upset when people download your book? But I found my book on a couple of pirate sites, and I'm not a big enough author to really care. I mean, if somebody thinks I'm big enough to put on a pirate site, it's kind of a,
But
I was
is
kind of
that how
okay
you
with
know
it.
you've made it?
Yeah,
Like
it's
there's a
just
couple stipulations I think to like when you know you've made it as a bigger author or content creator, etc. You get a 1-star troll review right at the gate,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then you're on a pirate site. Which I don't
yeah.
condone pirating or anything like that. Yes, I've done it in the past and it's not my favorite thing, but still, it's like it's money you're trying to make.
Hmm.
It's and I get that, but and that's where it's like Nintendo's not making money off of these games.
Exactly.
Sega's not
They're
making money off
losing
of this
money,
game. Yeah,
trying to bring a lawsuit to everything. I mean, what are they paying in lawyers' fees? You could be making 20 times that money back if you just embrace it instead of trying to shut everything down.
right. So it's one of those things where it's like is there a gray line when it comes between emulation, pirating, etc. And I've seen so many sites get taken down because of lawsuits and everything because of that. And
Hmm.
it's not like you're emulating like a brand new game. It's not like you're emulating Final Fantasy 16. No,
Yeah,
you're emulating something from 20 plus years ago.
yeah. Well, I mean, people are emulating new games. I mean,
Well,
got the
yeah,
new
but
Zelda's already got a ROM dump, and people are emulating that on the PC.
one of my favorite YouTube creators actually was a Nintendo partner, like part of the Nintendo partner program, and they dropped him because he made a mod video for Tears or not Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, yeah. I heard something about that. I think I heard something. I don't know. Whenever Nintendo sues anybody, it comes across my feed. But
I just the I think
I just
the
don't get it.
I honestly think Doug Bowser is doing a good job with Nintendo for the most part,
Yeah,
but no one compares
it's a
to my
great
boy
game.
Reggie. No one compares to Reggie, the Reginator. I'm gonna go back to playing Animal Crossing on my 3DS. Shout out to Reggie. We love Reggie here.
That's funny. Well, man.
So, Joel, because we need to talk about your favorite thing, mechanics. Do you have any
My
mechanics
favorite.
topics for 8-Bit Bastards?
Um, I mean, I guess I would say one thing I did really like was the class quests that they went on and
Yeah,
just the
to pick
different
their
ways
class.
that the classes worked, especially like the mage where you get the ring that's like fire damage or ice or what was
Yeah,
lightning, and then after like your class quest you get to choose two or something. I thought that was interesting mechanic.
I like that too. The thing about the mechanics in the game, though, I mean, it's not going to appeal to a lot of the crunchy people, or a lot of
For
the
sure,
people
for
that
sure.
are really into mechanics, just because I dumbed it down on purpose. I simplified it just because that's the way it was back then, on 8-bit and stuff like that. I didn't want to have, class trees and because, like, or skill trees or whatever, because those weren't really a thing back in the 8-bit, 16-bit days. I can
Yeah,
see
one sorry, go ahead.
No, I can see why people wouldn't like it for that, and I'm pretty upfront about it right out of the gate that you're not going to get a lot of crunch here.
Mm-hmm.
It's more story driven. You're not going to get a lot of stats, or you're not going to get every single experience point
Yeah,
or stuff like that.
I would say that I would have liked to seen like, well, I love mechanics, so, but I guess it doesn't really fit with the story that you're trying to tell, but I would have liked to see more mechanics from Afterlife, I guess, as opposed to like once you get into 8-bit bastards it kind of gets dumbed down.
Oh, after
But
all, you mean like the simulation before they get over there?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they were already maxed out at that point.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, I mean he'd already been on every quest and done everything. That's part of the reason why he wants out so bad, because he's just freaking bored. But
And
Dude, I would love to actually see them like in their glory days. Like if you made a
yeah,
series
when
about
they
that.
were the
like a
original
prequel.
bastards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a prequel. Yeah.
Oh, that
What would I call it? Just dead bastards.
just call it The Bastards, an 8-bit
The
bastards novel.
bastards.
8-bit buddies.
Well, they wouldn't be they wouldn't be in the 8-bit world.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would be fun, and seeing like the number crunches and everything there, that would actually be a fun
Actually, a
area
short
to
little
explore.
adventure maybe might be good for a like a newsletter or something like that.
Ooh, that's how you get
You know,
them.
just a little. Well, the books are short to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
that's why book 1 and 2 are one audiobook, because I mean, you got to give somebody at least 10, 11 hours in an audiobook. So
Right.
that's what I'm going to do with 3 and 4 as well. I'm going to put 3 and 4 together. I plan on having 4 done when I get back from Indonesia. I'm bringing my VR headset with me, so
So you can write in Skyrim.
I can't stress enough how much fun that is, man. Writing
That's
in
awesome.
VR.
See, I was just gonna say I'm working on recording stuff and everything like that. So it's like I don't think I can do that in VR. With
I know a guy that does VO in VR. He does voiceover,
that's
mixing, and everything in VR.
I also don't have a
Because
VR headset, so I can't do that.
there's so many environments you can put yourself in, though. I mean, you can have just you can be floating in space, you know, if you just want complete lack of distraction whatsoever. You can, you know, with just your screen floating in front of you with a text.
And coming this summer, a guy floating in space reading a script. June 2024.
There you go.
You sound like Rocket Man.
That's high praise. Anyways, so do you have any other last little tidbits you want to share about 8-bit bastards or anything like that? I know we kind of got off topic. Like I said, this was just more of a casual, fun conversation, but we did touch base on the story a little bit. Of yes, go buy 8-bit bastards. It's really good. I promise you'll enjoy it. It's a fun read.
Thank you. I'm wrapping it up, so I don't want to give too much away. It's wrapping up after 4.
Okay.
So I can work on other things, and you know, I'm going to leave it open maybe to coming back to it, if not the world itself, not the characters, and the world itself maybe.
Okay.
I don't know, but I mean, I think after 4, it's going to end at a good place, and you know, I'll get to work on the sequel to Steamless Alley, because I want to finish that story. I mean, that book didn't sell incredibly well, but it's still a story that means a lot to me, and everybody that's read it, I mean, it's got like 4.6 on Amazon, so I mean, it's got a lot of love out there, and a lot of people have been asking me for a sequel, but it just didn't sell, you know.
Gotcha. Well, I
Part
mean,
of it, I didn't have the marketing.
8-bit
I didn't have
bastards
the
on Audible is sitting at a 4.5 star rating with 99 ratings or 99 rates and everything. So that's awesome. With a audiobook length of 9 hours and 47 minutes and narrated by Michael Norman Johnson. I mean,
He killed it too.
he absolutely killed it. That first line in the when he did that quote, I was like, did he pull this directly from Castlevania?
I sent him the clip. I was like, "Can you sound like this?" He's like, "Sure."
It's
And when I first heard it, I was like, "Dude, you nailed it, man! Good job." His performance of Nestler. Nestler's my favorite character in the series by far, and he was originally just supposed to be a little comic relief side character, but book 3 especially develops him into like he's got a love interest. He's getting fully fleshed out, so to speak, which
Right.
is funny because he's a skeleton. But
Steven asked, are
I
there
see what
any
you did
plans
there.
for some sci-fi?
yeah, Steven asked this. We worked on a book together, Rise and Rescue, to save koalas a while back. It was back when the wildfires were going on in Australia. We did this collaboration, and I wrote a book called Tarman's Ark, which was a sci-fi book about this guy that had to go save all these animals on all these planets. It was a sci-fi lit RPG. I mean, there's stats involved, but I mean, you can only throw so much stats in a short story.
Yeah.
But that was my first foray into sci-fi, and people really dug that. The people that read it, I got some good comments on that.
Okay.
So I kind of been playing around with that too. I have a series that I'm outlining, which I've never done before. I've always been a pantser, but I have a series I'm outlining that's going to be kind of episodic, Star Trek-y
Ooh.
RPG like. It's called Stardude, so it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be
Oh, that sounds awesome.
kind of funny, but it's going to be like a lit RPG in space type of thing. You're gonna have to wait, but that's
Okay.
going to be out hopefully before the end of the year.
I
And
I,
I
I
plan
dig
on
it.
that one being like Star Trek episodes, where like each one's its own little self-contained story,
Okay.
and that's gonna because Star Trek's another longtime favorite of mine too.
Next gen or original?
I don't like the original. I try to. I'll watch the original occasionally, but
I mean, you don't
yeah,
like Shatner talking like this.
he made a line of a woman's delicates for a while, but they didn't sell. Apparently, Shatner panties isn't a good name for a company. Sorry.
No, that was good. No, I prefer Next Generation, and I'm not even like that big of a Star Trek fan. I just, you know, I'll watch it if it's on, but it's not like something I will be like so, balls to the walls, like hyped over. But it's like, oh, cool,
Yeah.
Next Generation.
Well, I mean, it's very loosely. This book is going to be very loosely
Yeah.
Trek. The first officer is a repurposed sex droid. That tells you anything. Well, he gets what he can afford at the beginning because he's just
Oh
starting out. So he's
shit.
got a rust bucket ship, and like the only first officer you could afford is a deprogrammed
I'm
sex
I'm
droid,
all
but
for it.
she still kicks in with like her old programming
Oh my
occasionally.
god. I'm all
It's
for
gonna
it. I am all for it. I'll watch it or not watch it. I'll read it.
You watch it because it's
Yeah.
getting picked up by Netflix.
Hell yeah. No, 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 no. They don't
Hulu?
they don't pay their writers.
Oh yeah,
No.
we'll see.
We stand with the strike going on. Um so
Well, by the time it's done,
yeah,
the writers will have $1 million contracts.
hopefully.
Yeah.
Um so Samuel K. Kaufman asked, "How often do you edit your stories?"
How often do I edit?
Mhm.
Well, I edit all my stories, of course, before I drop them. I've done when I got into lit RPG, I picked up a ton of editing work too because there's a ton of people out there that need edits, and I've been doing a lot of that. So one of the reasons my pacing is so few and far between because I do a lot of line edits for people. So I'm a pretty good editor. Editing your own stuff is kind of difficult to do because you won't see what another pair of eyes will see. Chet Sandberg did a lot of work on the first two 8-bit bastards.
Okay.
He was the editor for those two. Third one I edited myself just because I couldn't afford him anymore. But I think it turned out okay as well. I mean, I have an eye for it, and I put it down for like 2 months before I went back and did the edit, so that helped a lot.
Stephen Landry said, "I want Mason to format my next series. His work is amazing."
I do a lot of formatting too. It's formatting paperbacks is one of my favorite things to do. You can play with it, make it all pretty and artistic, and it's a lot of fun. If anybody needs a formatter or an editor, hit me up.
We will make a shirt or an ad for that. I got you. I got you. So we're gonna start wrapping up the show because you're obviously getting ready for a trip. You probably need some rest and everything. So we do a little
Yes,
game
exciting.
called "Hey, what you been reading?" So Josh, we can start with you, or I can have Joel go first because I'm gonna have to go grab what I've been reading because I forgot to before we got in here. So who wants to go first?
Go
I
for it,
can
Joel.
go first.
All right, Joel. Hey, Joel. Hey, Joel.
That's me.
What you been reading? I'll be right back.
Recently I have been reading Into the Void. Book 1 and 2 came out on Kindle, and it was really good. But the first book actually just came out on Audible, and they did a really good job with that. The voice narrator kind of sounds like the guy from Honest Trailers, if you've ever seen like the YouTube
Yeah,
video.
yeah.
So, yeah, that was fantastic.
Who is the
That
narrator?
uh, Give me a sec. I'll look it up.
It's not Jeff, is it?
No, I don't think so.
Who wrote the book, Into the Void?
Give me a sec. It's by Phil Tucker and narrated by Tom Taylorson.
Cool.
But yeah, other than that, I don't know if I said I was reading Bedlam Bride last episode or not, but I finished that. Uh,
Yes,
fantastic.
with Demetrius.
Um, also World Keeper book, I want to say 12 came out, and I am a huge fan of Justin Miller's work. He turns the mechanics up to like 11. Um, so that was another fantastic entry into the series. Um, Other than that, I've just been going back to listen to Dakota Crowd's Completionist Chronicles, and Rich has been trying to get me to listen to a bunch of other stuff. I need to listen to the guy who started
The
the
guy who
Apocalypse.
accidentally started the
Yeah,
apocalypse.
accidentally started Apocalypse. So that's probably what I'm
Shout
going
out
to
to
be
Dave.
listening to next.
It's good. It's really good.
But
Great cast.
yeah, that's what I've been listening to.
I've been, well, I've been a lifelong Terry Pratchett fan ever since I was a kid, and his all his books are getting re-released on audio with brand new narration and multicast and everything like that. And I just listened to Guards, and it was just I forgot how much I loved that book and the new narration. I think it's I forgot who did it. The guy that was the captain on the new Star Trek. Oh, what's his name? Jason Isaacs. Yeah,
Ooh.
he narrated it, and it was just absolutely beautiful. And like, they're still coming out. Like, well, they release a new one like every month. Like right when my credit
So
happens to drop.
so we're talking Jason Isaacs as in like Lucius Malfoy, Commander Zhao, and Avatar: The Last Airbender. Jason Isaacs.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, oh,
I
I'm gonna
think
have to
I
check
don't know.
this
Was he
out.
on Cards, or was he on? He, he was on the last one I read, or the last one I listened to. But yeah, it's him.
Oh,
No, the Moving Pictures. That's right. The Hollywood spoof.
yeah.
That's the one I just listened to with Jason Isaacs.
Ooh. Okay. I have a credit. I might be diving into this tonight. Whew. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I love Terry Pratchett, man. He's a big influence of my work too. I mean, I hope I can be as funny as him, as pointed as
Okay.
him
Just to
someday.
make sure I'm not mixing up, Pratchett is Good Omens with Neil Gaiman, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
But he also does the whole Discworld series, which
Well,
is what he.
I my mind switched to Robert Jordan for some reason, and I was thinking Wheel of Time. I was like, no, that doesn't sound right. So that's why I needed that confirmation.
Yeah, Robert Jordan. You can tell the difference because Robert Jordan doesn't have a sense of humor,
Yeah, Wheel of Time's very dry. Hmm.
but he's got a little bit of a sense of humor, but not like Pratchett, man. The guy's a legend. May he rest in peace.
Any other books you wanna shout out or anything?
If you have kids and you want a lit RPG to listen to, my good friend Ian Taj L has written a couple books in a series called Ruins of Majesta. That is a
Ooh.
really fun book to read. And if you got little kids that want to get into it, from anywhere from the 8 to 15-year-old range, it's a great listen. I highly recommend it.
Ah, Sam, I'm sorry. I thought I turned the ad breaks off. I'll double check that. Which part? Who was talking when you got the ad break? We'll reiterate that for you. I'm sorry. I thought I turned those damn things off. Shit.
I think we were still shouting out Terry Pratchett.
Yeah, probably still talking Terry Pratchett because I think they should only be a minute long, but I don't know. With I need to revamp everything on this channel. Shit. So Josh was talking. Okay, so do you want to reiterate the Terry Pratchett stuff real quick?
Oh yeah, I was listening to Guards, and Moving Pictures have been my two latest listens because they're re-releasing all of Terry Pratchett stuff, and it just sounds absolutely wonderful. It's multicast. They got a separate guy to do all the footnotes. Terry Pratchett's a big footnote person, and his footnotes are absolutely hilarious. So they got a separate guy for the footnotes, a separate guy to play Death, who's omnipresent in the
Yeah.
Terry Pratchett books. Death Terry Pratchett's Death was a big influence for Nestler, the skeleton AI in 8-Bit Bastards. When I talked to
God damn it, Nesler.
I talked to Mike Johnson, Michael Norman Johnson. I was like, "Can you make Nestler sound like Norm Macdonald's Death from Family Guy?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think I can do that."
I
That's
forgot
funny.
Norm was the voice of Death.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my god.
that's funny.
Norm's
But
death
I
was
love that character, and I
was
just
big
wanted that
sad.
kind of snark. But that, yeah, that and what I shout out to Ian Tajel too. Ruins of Majesta. It's a fun series
Okay.
for if you have little kids or younger people that want to get into lit RPG and you don't want to, throw a harem at them right away.
We like harems. We just gotta ease the kids in first.
Yeah,
Like I'm going to
but
talk to
yeah,
my fourth grade teacher. When I told her like all the stuff I'm doing and everything, she goes, "Oh, you got to come in and talk to my class. Are there like any like you know appropriate ones for like younger kids to read?" And I was like, "Oh, Miss Bowdy, you can't do this to me." Okay, yeah, I'll have a list for you because once you get in this genre, it's a tough one, but okay.
yeah. I mean, they come out of nowhere too. I like it when they don't warn you that there's a
Hmm.
harem coming, or
Right.
like, it's like it's been all goblins and trolls, and here's a four-way out of nowhere. Like,
Uh,
okay, thanks for the warning.
the Archemy Online series did that to me. It was like, it was pretty tame and everything. It's like, oh yeah, he hooked up with a girl like not too like in the first book, and it wasn't like anything. And then at the end of the second book, full blown sex scene. I was like, oh whoa, what the fuck? Okay, but I should have known. I should have known because it was Justin Thomas James narrating it from Sound Booth Theater. It was gonna get
Oh
spicy
yeah,
at some point.
of course you're gonna get that.
But shout out to.
Yeah, look for amazing cleavage too, because I really want to get that
Oh,
out
I'm
into the
excited
world.
for that one. You'll have to send me a link when that one comes out because I am ready for that one.
If you like mechanics, well, here's a mechanic for you, just as a preview. The way he refills his SP, his spell points, is by the battle axe with a demon handle, is by getting gratified in the field of battle. So, so that's
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 gonna
how
be
he
fun.
replenishes his mana, so to speak. So there's you'll be in the heat of battle and like some I don't want to say anything, but you're gonna have to imagine it, man. It's fun.
All
I
right.
don't know if it's gonna
Sounds
work or not.
great.
I can't stop laughing when I'm writing it, but I don't know if other people are gonna appreciate it as much as I do.
Hell yeah.
But
So
we'll
on
see.
my list of stuff I've been reading. So I'm gonna do my audio before I do my paperback stuff and Kindle stuff. So I just finished listening to Smash the System by System Lad, which is different from Defy the System, but it's same universe, just different characters. It was really good. Blight Leech by Ben Ornstad. I beta read that one, and when the audio came out, I got it immediately. The Guy Who Accidentally Started the Apocalypse by David Bushman. Shout out to Dave. I don't remember if I said this on the last episode or not, but Warsinger by James Osiris Baldwin. It's the fourth book in the Alchemy Online. Summoners Awakens Origins. It's a deck building lit RPG, and that one's really fun. And then Fateless Book One. Fateless Book One by Martin McKenzie. That one was really good, narrated by Mr. Neil Helgers. Shout out to Neil. Now,
Neil's a good guy.
oh, Neil's fantastic. We've had him. He was one of our first guests on the show when we first started doing this, and he's just an absolute delight. So, my current read right now is Quest Academy Silvers by Brian J. Norton. Shout out to Brian. This book is fantastic. It's his first book. I am loving it. It is so much fun. It's like My Hero Academia meets Sky High meets X-Men, and it's really good. The main character is a crafter, and his abilities and everything are just really cool. And then after that, because tomorrow is the launch of this, I've had this for about a week now. The Artem universe launches tomorrow, and I
Japanese,
got Dawn. I love Dawn. Shout out to Dawn. This We're bringing her books down. I'm bringing Laura's books down and Kevin Sinclair's books down to Dragon Con. So I'm gonna have 72 books in my car on our way down to
Jesus.
Dragon Con. We're just gonna be we're gonna what did TJ? What did you call me earlier? Because I posted about it on Twitter and he said a specific thing. Um, he said that's not a car. That's an urban book assault vehicle. UB a UBAV. So that was
That's
fun.
funny.
And then just in the mail the other day, I got, because we had Demetrius on the show last episode, he sent me Physics of the Apocalypse books 1 and 2, and oh god, this book is so much fun. Physics of the Apocalypse is so much fun. What could go wrong with an apocalypse happening when two guys go to Oktoberfest in Berlin? So it's so much fun.
That's funny.
But Tailspin, I got to read a little bit of it. I read some of it on Royal Road, and I loved it. This book is just, I'm excited for this universe. This universe is going to
It's
be
like
so much fun.
5 different people writing in that universe or something. Isn't it?
4. It's Lars McMuller, Kevin Sinclair, which I've booked both of them to be on the show after Dragon Con, and then Jez Caggio and Don, which Jez's second book is coming out. Like, his first book drops tomorrow. Second book's coming out on the 28th, so right before Dragon Con. So I'm excited.
You got Bushman coming up too, right?
David's next episode, yes. So actually, and shout out to Stephen Landry, because our schedule that we had made, what that graphic and everything, Stephen made that for me. Which shout out to him.
Oh, Stephen made that. I
Yeah.
thought I recognized it.
Oh yeah, it's a beauty. But yeah, our upcoming shows, which goes into our next thing, and before I talk about the giveaway. So obviously tonight, Joshua Mason, thank you for joining us. We loved having you on.
It's a lot of fun, man.
On 8/14, so August 14th, we have David Bushman, and he might have a few codes to give out for the audio of the guy who accidentally started the apocalypse. So make sure you guys come in, like, come to the show. It's gonna be fun, because audio for that was fantastic. And also, my name's in the back of that book as a shout out. So thank you, Dave. Love you. And then on the 21st of August, we have Jeff Hayes, the man of many, many voices, the CEO of Sound Booth Theater, Jeff motherfucking Hayes. I am so excited for that episode, because we are going to be promoting Eye of the Bedlam Bride.
Yeah,
and
I
then,
love Jeff, man.
Oh, he's such a delight. We got to meet him last year at Gen Con, and
I met him at 20 Books.
I want to go to 20 Books. I was working for an author, and he was joking about having me go out to 20 Books with him this year, but I'm no longer. I had to step away from that project just because it was too much for me.
Yeah.
So, and then we have a collab coming with the Legion Publishing people. So, Brian, Jez, like all of those guys. Like, we have a collab coming up at some point. We're not sure when it's going to be, if it's going to be before Dragon Con, because the goal was to do it the Sunday or Monday before Dragon Con. So that would be like our lead into the events. And then we are going to be doing some live streams at Dragon Con. We're not sure how we're going to do it yet, because we can just
We're probably just gonna like
live stream
vlog
off
the
my
whole
phone
trip at some point.
Well, we can live stream from my phone. So
Yeah.
I'm just not sure how that's going to work properly, so that way, everyone can hear us. So
If you want a little sample of that amazing cleavage book I'm talking about, Jeff Hayes read a chapter from it on when he used to do like
the Sound of Theater Live.
Yeah.
Okay.
He read a chapter of that a couple years ago. I started this a couple years ago and I put it on the back burner.
I'll have to message him and see if he can tell me if he still has that up somewhere, and I'll do that.
I think it's still on YouTube. I'll send you a link.
But that is our schedule for right now. We do have Kevin Sinclair and Lars McMuller coming up at some point, as well as Brian J. Norton, to talk about Quest Academy, because the audio for that is going live the day after Dragon Con ends, so on the 5th. And it's being recorded
I'm
by.
not worthy.
It's
not worthy to be mentioned in the same conversation with these people, but it's
no, you are. You are.
Oh,
Here's the thing with stats. We like to focus on a lot of the good things in Lit RPG, because this community, yes, it does have some bad eggs in it, but overall, it is a very welcoming and wholesome community. Everyone is amazing, and we like to share. We like to share that love and give praise where praise is due. So,
thanks, man.
Coming from the Stats on Stats crew, Josh, you did a great job with the series. It is so much fun. Like,
Thanks,
even if it's not someone's cup of tea, but like if it's not someone's cup of tea, that's fine. But still, they picked it up, they read it, shared their thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just it's a fun time. And that's one thing I like to focus on. Like, I never like to leave a bad review. I don't think I've ever left a bad review on a product, because I don't want to damage someone's, credibility or anything just because it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Like, if it's not for me, it's not for me. Joel and I've had this talk many times about, like, having, he's recommended a series and it's like, okay, I read the first few books. It's not for me. Like, I get it. This is your thing. It's not my thing. Just like I've recommended a lot of stuff and he's like, it's not really my type, but we still check it out.
Yeah.
Zekler is the bad egg.
I mean, to be honest, like, this was one that was more Richie's forte, and I might have listened to it a little fast forwarded, but uh, I still love the genre, and like every book I pick up, I enjoy
It's a very
uh,
welcoming
in the
community.
genre.
It
Yeah,
it is a very welcoming community. There's not a lot of I can't say there's not a lot of, because there is some gatekeeping with some series and everything, because just there
Oh,
is
names.
there's never going to be a group where there's no toxicity. There's toxicity in the group, but it gets overshadowed by the good in the community.
Yeah,
So,
it's a
and
fun community.
it's a great community, and I've gotten some of my favorite books from it and everything, and it's helped me a lot. I've talked about my depression and anxiety on the show multiple times, and these books are my escape. They are my escape from reality for a little bit. And even when I'm just playing like Diablo or an MMO of some kind or anything, I have an audiobook playing in my ear. I put the AirPod in, I just play. So, that's why we started the show. Like, it's something we could do to just bring love to this genre and give authors credit where credit is due. So,
It's a great thing you're
and
doing, man. I appreciate it.
I will say this has been an awesome episode.
mm-hmm.
Like the chat has been awesome.
Yeah.
You have been awesome.
Even though you yelled at
Um,
me.
Not aggressive, man.
I didn't mean to bring up the Genesis. I'm sorry. It was
no,
fake
but
news.
But yeah, I agree with
yeah, I
everything
think
you
it's
said
been
about the
a
community.
fantastic episode.
And Terry, I'll just end on this. Terry Pratchett said that, like he said something along the lines of that a man is never dead as long as his name is still spoken,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a true thing. We lost somebody recently in the Lit RPG community, and
It's
I just want to.
yeah,
It was a heartbreaking loss. Solio, I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
yeah. He I remember I was at work and I saw James Hunter, which shout out to James for doing everything he could there, because
He did, yeah.
he
It was
tried. He really did, and it was just it sadly was it was a loss, and it was a sad day in the Lit RPG community. And I mean, we've lost, I think that's 2 people in the past 3 months due to this, and and that's, like I said, this is one of my escapes. This is like my outlet to express the love and everything, because without these books, like I don't even know if I'd be here. And Joel's
Yeah.
the one who introduced me to these books. He got me into reading The Land after pounding it into my head. He's like, dude, just check it out, just check it out, just check it out, just check it out, just check it out. And I finally said, fuck it, I'll check it out. And then I did, and now I'm like, I can't do anything else but listen to my books. So,
Well, I mean, the community is here for everybody that
Mhm.
needs them. I mean, even
Yeah.
if I don't know you, I'm always here for you.
Yeah.
If you need someone to talk to, authors, tend a lot of them tend to be depressive sorts.
Yeah.
And like kind of loners at times. And but you're never alone in this community. That's something I learned right from the get go. And it's one of the reasons I love being in this community.
yeah, and my inbox is always open. Either I will say you can reach me better on the Rich Dolphus Twitter versus the Stats on Stats, because I'm not logged in on my phone on Stats on Stats' Twitter, just so I can separate myself a little bit. But feel free to send me a message if you just want to have a quick conversation. Feel free, hit me up, tell me like what's going on with your day, tell me what's going on with your life. I've had plenty of conversations with authors, and about like my depression, and I've also talked to them about their stuff. I'm not going to give out names, obviously, for privacy reasons, but I mean, hell, I've had multiple conversations on the phone with Steven and Greya, where we sit there and we chat. We chat because like the other day they had texted me and said, hey, how's it going? I was just like, I'm just not feeling myself. Not even 2 minutes later, I had a phone call from him. So
Yeah.
this
It's a
community
community,
is amazing, and so never feel bad for reaching out. Never feel like you don't matter, because you do. Everyone matters in their own way, and everyone is a special person. So please, if you ever if you ever need anything, this community is amazing for that. Please
Yeah.
tell us.
I didn't mean to end the show on a dark
No.
note or anything.
No,
But
I mean,
I just wanted to put that in people's minds. That
Yeah.
you're never alone out here, man.
No, and I wanted like, even after that like happened, Demetrius, that the day that happened, Demetrius reached out to me. He's like, "Hey man, I hope you're doing okay. Like, just if you need anything, let me know." And it's like that meant a lot. And thus I started a little chain of messaging everyone else because like I was like, wow, this really sucks. It really does. And I don't want to see more posts saying, "Hey, we lost this person, because I don't want to lose anyone.
Yeah.
This community is too special. But we are a month away from Dragon Con. We are a month away. If you see Joel and I walking around, you better come up and say hi. Tell us.
Go, man.
We wish we could be there.
I count both of you as my new friends. Like
you are
anytime chat or anything.
Anyone we've had on the show is a friend and will always be a Stats on Stats member. Plain and simple. Like we have our Discord server. I think there should be an invite on the Stats on Stats Twitter or on my Twitter. Joel and I are always in the gaming chat just chilling or anything, or if you want to hear me start recording stuff and everything, pop into the booth. Like, just if you see us in any of the chats other than the podcast or podcast waiting room, please pop in and say hi. Like, if you see us in gaming is open to anyone. It's open to anyone. Like, if you want to just hop on and be like, "Oh, you guys are playing Diablo? Oh, you guys are playing Apex, Valorant, whatever. Can I join?" Yeah, if we have room, we'll put you in.
Cool. I still haven't got Diablo 4 yet.
Oh, we've been playing that before the episode, so
I still play the heck out of Diablo 3.
I'm a Diablo 2 guy.
Same.
Diablo 1, man.
Oh, I had
Stay a
both.
while and listen.
I had both Diablo 2 and Diablo 1 on my grandma's computer in the basement at her house that had no internet. So I put hours and hours into those games.
So take away from this episode, don't put any of your stuff in a basement.
Yeah, pretty much. Keep it above sea level and everything, so that way if there is a flood, you don't lose your good shit.
Either that or don't move to Illinois.
Indiana. Very good.
Midwestern state, doesn't matter, same thing.
You could put the names Illinois and Indiana on each other. I wouldn't notice.
Yeah, it's we're not that important here. We have good corn though. We have great corn.
Great corn.
I moved out to Colorado for a few years, and people were like, "Oh, you've not had good corn until you had Colorado sweet corn." I was like, "You didn't grow up in Southern Indiana, bro."
All we do is corn.
Oh, we got Cummins, we got corn, and we got Tony Stewart and Mike Pence, but we got them.
What's a Hoosier? I don't know.
It's a Hoosier thing, and we got the movie
What is
Hoosiers.
Hoosier?
Actually, John Cho, Roldy from Harold and Kumar,
Yeah.
he did a movie about our hometown.
You mean Sulu?
And Sulu, yeah, he was in Star Trek. I forgot he was in the remake. But he did a movie called Columbus, and it's about my hometown.
Really?
It was shot and filmed here. And we did a wrestling event, and he just came up and started chatting with us in the middle of the wrestling event. Dude is super cool.
That's
So,
cool.
shout out to John Cho. But that has been our show. We want to thank everyone for joining us today, and especially Mr. Mason. Josh, thank you so much for joining us. That was
it's
a
been
really
lot
fun
of
episode. Join us in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today, on August 14th, for Stats on Stats with David J. Bushman about the guy who accidentally started the apocalypse. And we're going to be discussing on, the audio narration, because Daniel Wisniewski and Jessica 3 did a fantastic fucking job on that book. So if you need to catch up before we get to that episode, pick it up, read it, or, just wait, because you might have the chance to win an audio code. Like, if you're like, "Oh, this might be my cup of tea." We do have another giveaway coming for Dragon Con because we did reach 200 followers on Twitter. I changed it up a little bit because originally we said we were going to buy anyone, the person who won the giveaway, a series of their choice, a complete series. Joel and I do not have the funds for that, we have come to realize. So, unless you guys want to donate to the channel.
I still could. Yeah.
We could still do it, but like I like this one better because there's going to be 5 winners for this next, or 6 winners. No, 5 winners. Yeah, 5 winners. So our next giveaway is after Dragon Con. You will have a chance to win either books, the 4 books in the Artem series at first release. So Tailspin, Underdog, Rise of Oshbob, and Revenant. Whatever Jez Caggio's book's in. I can't think of what it is off the top of my head. I'm excited for it. I get his titles mixed up constantly. First place will be books, those 4 books, all signed. And then 2 through 5 will win a signed copy of one of the books. So you can either have a chance to win 4 books or 1 book, but second place will get to pick from the 4, third place will get to pick from the remaining 3, and so on and so forth. But all the books in that series are going to be fantastic. Because I've read a lot of them on Royal Road, and just to get a head start on them, because I couldn't make up my mind at which one I was going to start with, and luckily it's Tailspin. It's good. It's really good. You have a lot of talented authors working on this, so it's going to be a fun time. But this has been Stats on Stats. Once again, everyone, thank you for joining us tonight. Josh, we really appreciate having you on.
It was a lot of fun, man.
All right. Everyone have a fantastic evening, or whatever time it is for you, day, night, whatever. But have a good one.
Yeah. Bye.